Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of duthieaquatics. In this episode I'm filming in my lovely den, which is soundproof because we've got the glass doors on either side, and with my family being home I need something that means you're not going to listen to them, because I live in Australia, my family's Australian. If you don't know, we swear our asses off. Now, for this video I'm actually going to be aquascaping this lovely 2.5 foot tank that is probably 1.5 feet high and then 1 foot back, so it's a decent sized tank, but I'm going to do it in a very special way. So I have this was a terracotta strawberry pot, which you may or may not see at garden centres or homeware stores like that, and you're meant to plant, your herbs in this side, that side, and in the top there, and they're meant to grow out and use them, blah blah blah. If you've ever grown herbs in these pots, you know these pots are terrible for growing the herbs in, because the terracotta sucks out the moisture very quickly. You may live in a climate where that doesn't happen, but in Australia generally these are a big waste of money because they don't work that well for that. But I thought this would serve as a perfect opportunity, so I cut one in half, mostly in half, and I'm going to aquascape the tank with this. This is going to be on that side, other one on that side, may even have it in the corner, but I'm going to aquascape this tank with terracotta pots, just because it's something I see quite often. People will have the full-sized flower pots, or even the mini-sized flower pots like that, just have some Balanceria or something in there growing in their breeder tanks or whatever. So I got thinking, if I was going to use only terracotta as the main hardscape, how would I aquascape the tank? So here we are. I've just drained this tank and moved it, so I've got that. I'll have that on that footage there for you guys to have a look at. But I think it's time to get into it. So I'm going to now switch to the tripod, and once I do anything of note, I'll let you guys know. But I'm just going to start off with putting a layer of sand down, just so that the terracotta is not sitting on the glass bottom, because then there's obviously the potential too much pressure in the wrong spot, and then I don't want to crack the tank, I don't want to scratch anything. So I'm just going to put a layer of sand down towards the back there, because that's where the terracotta pots are going to be, and then we'll go from there. So I'm just using washed children's play sand. Usually you'll have to wash it again, but I'm just gonna dump it in as is because I'm very lazy. If you guys haven't got that by now, well, I don't know what to tell you, but I am a very lazy person, and there is a way to set up your aquarium without having to wash everything like crazy. So now that this is in here, I'm just gonna flick some towards the back and have it kind of leveled out. So I'm going to use 3 different substrates in this tank. Obviously the first one being this sand. Inside the pots themselves I'm going to put some of the shrimp soil, the aquasoil, just because I have it, may as well use it, because I've used the potting mix in the bonsai pot, so I'll do one with aquasoil, and we can see if there's much of a difference for aquascaping with that. I know it's a lot easier to use in terms of if you're rescaping and stuff using aquasoil, but it's usually also quite expensive, so oops, try not to break the bloody tank. It's in here. So obviously the way I've done this is probably not the best. I had this all ramped up on one side, so I'll level this out a bit. So I can have that pushed right up against there, or even a bit of an angle. I might do this one on an angle like that. Then get this one in here. Have that one against there like that. So that's pretty good. Let's skip away the sand from anywhere I don't need it. I'm just going to pile the sand up. So I don't know how I'm going to quite use the sand, so I may use it as a capping for the aquasoil, or I may do something else with it. So, as you can see, this is just sitting on a bed of sand like that. Maybe it's easier to look in from top. So, sitting on a bed of sand like that into the corner. And then this one's done the same thing down there like that. So, that's how I'm doing that. See if I can put the camera back down in the correct spot. Coral slate stacks. So these are just literally coral stacks that have been harvested that would have been like that, and they've just gone through and cut them very cleanly. I'm going to put these at the back here, the center in between them, and hopefully what that's going to do is just change the level a bit. Sometimes everything takes a bit of finessing to kind of get right, so hardscape is always the thing I start first with, just because it makes things a bit easier. The grinder. So I should have got the grinder, and I should have cut these slate up so I could maneuver them a bit better. But what I'll do this one will sit back there like that. Because I want to play with the levels just a little bit. In fact, what I can do move this one over here. This one here. I'm going to sandwich that like that. Oh, that'll actually kind of work. So I'm going to need a different piece of slate. So what I want to do is create a little bit of a shelf here, so this is a little bit higher at the back here. Or do I? Actually, no I don't. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put this coral slate inside here as a bit of fill, so that when I put the soil in there I don't need as much soil. Stick this one back up on here, take that one out. And the main reason for the coral slate is just because I know I'm going to either have Caridina and Neocaridina and live bearers in here, and usually they like a bit higher pH. So to keep that stable, I'm just having the coral in here because that's always a good way of maintaining your pH in case you do a water change, or if you're like me and you're not doing excessive amounts of water changes and then you're going to add CO2 to the aquarium, it can drop the pH a little bit. So just having those in there is a nice buffer against that. And obviously as well, adding the shrimp soil to there, that's going to drop the pH as well. So I don't want to overdo it with dropping the pH. Put that one there like that. Actually, I'll lift this one out. I'll build up a bit of sand here first. Put that there like that. I don't know if in the future I may get some epistogrammas. So if that's the case, I want to have some caves that are kind of scattered around, and having some little terracotta pots that look like they're broken and fallen over will kind of help. So just smooth that out a bit. Put that one there like that. May readjust these as we go on, but I've got a couple different sizes. Actually, you know what I'll do? I'll put this one like this, and then I'll put it on an angle at the front here. I'll put this one at the back here, and I'll make this one, so this one in the corner here, I'm going to take inspiration from Lord of the Rings and make it somewhat like a hobbit hole. So I'll put some sand there for it. Put this down here like that. Then I'll build up the back of it with some more substrate, and I'll plant out the top so it's kind of just a cave into there. I know if I end up getting epistogrammas, it's not the best thing to do, have the cave face out, because obviously they'll get stressed out and people looking in there. But because this is really an area of my house that only I will utilize, they should be pretty right. And then this one, I'm going to have like that. Here, you probably can't see it behind the mound of sand. I'll just kick that away first. So I've got this one fallen over like that, as if the terracotta pot has been broken. I'll fill it with aquasoil here to spill out, so it looks like the aquasoil has come out of as like potting mix, and I'll plant it out with a carpeting plant from there. So it'll look like it's just a fallen pot going there, and have some nice color. It's just lava rock. It's easy, light to move for myself. If I was smarter, I'd have a aquarium bags to put it in, and then just have it in the pots as extra fill. But I've got it loose because that's all I can do. And I'm going to fill the pots with these. Not all the way, but just for the majority of it, because the plant root systems, even if I put Amazon swords in these pots, aren't going to need that much room, and it's just going to be space filler. The benefit is though, it's a very porous substrate. It will culture a lot of beneficial bacteria, which is just what you want. Especially if you're doing a no water change aquarium, and if you're like me and you're 99% chance you're going to overdo it with stocking the fish. And I can tell you already, if I've got to move this tank again, it's going to be such a pain. But that's all of that done. What I'll do, so we'll pretend, how did this pot get broken? Maybe some kid threw some rocks. So I'll have some rocks. Maybe not that small. Decent rock built up around the base here. which is a little bit poetic because just on the other side of this wall here in my backyard, it backs onto a school, and the school kids are constantly throwing rocks at our house, and they've had the window here broken before. So when art imitates life, I suppose. Do that. I may change the levels of this because obviously this is going to be quite thin, and obviously I like quite deep substrates for planting. But I'll just move these away. Actually, I'll do a really thin layer of sand at the front here. A thin layer of sand here. The excess of it I will use just a bit of fill at the back here. Depending on how I go for time, I may or may not learn a new song to play as the background music, because anytime you hear the Chinese harp that's playing in the background of my music, of my videos, that's actually me playing. So the instrument is called a guzheng. It has 21 strings and has over 1,000 years of history. So some of the songs I've played are actually a millennia old. So stones can go here against that pot. It's working pretty well. To make it look like these were sitting perhaps on a gravel path, these pots. So I'm going to bury that piece of coral, because obviously the white's going to stand out like a sore thumb. So I'll do that, and then I'll put aquasoil back here. So I'm hoping to get away with using less than like 3 liters of aquasoil, because obviously if you're trying to do something like this on a budget, the strawberry pot cost me $22. Actually, it cost me $20, so I bought 2 of them. The other one I'm going to use outside in a pond, and I'll show you how I'm going to use that in another video. These little terracotta pots for $1 each, so there's $23 in pots here. The sand is about half a bag of the children's play sand, so that was about $3.50 worth of sand. This gravel is probably one of the more expensive things, and that's probably about $15 worth of gravel, just one bag. And then the lava stone is from Bunnings as well, which is our local hardware store, and I think it's used for barbecues or something, and that was dirt cheap as well. So far everything in here has been under $50. The most expensive part of this scape will be the light itself and then the plants I put in. But because I propagate most of the plants, even they aren't that expensive. So fill around there. Fill in between here. Then the very last of this I'm going to save, because I'm going to put some aquasoil back here, then cover it over with the pebbles. Even though the aquasoil is going to blend in a lot, I just want to carry the pebbles through so it all has more of a uniform look. And if you didn't know, these shallow Chinese takeaway containers are worth their weight in gold for your fish room. If you're doing aquascaping, if you're doing anything, they're just great. I even use these for my Daphnia cultures, so I'm going to make another update video on how to do the Daphnia cultures, because I've been experimenting with some of the stuff for that, so a few different methods for people to try that might be easier. And then for this one, there's that one. So this aquasoil here I won't cover over, because obviously it's meant to look like the potting mix that's been knocked out of the pot. Something like that. Fill up behind here. So I'm going to have to crack into the other bag now. So that's about 1 litre, so I've got 2 litres left, so hopefully I can get everything filled up. I may have to use more than what I wanted to, but we'll see. Oops. Dropped a bit where I didn't want to, it doesn't matter. That's that part full. I don't think I'm going to be able to get away with just using 3 litres. I may need to use 5. Yeah, unfortunately, that doesn't do it. So I'll show you guys what that looks like at the moment. I'll just go grab some more supplies. So that's all aquasoil at the back there, so that'll be the little hobbit house. Bit of nice gravel underneath the pots. That one's still got to get the filler before I put any aquasoil in it. That's our broken pot from the children throwing rocks. And we've got a nice little bank of aquasoil at the back there as well. I've filled this one up. There's a little bit of a cavity at the back there still, so back here, so I may find some more fill to put there before I put more aquasoil. But I'm just going to cap off this part at the back here, so just this part here, I'm going to cap off with some more of this pea gravel, and that should be that done. So when I'm planting, you won't really notice the aquasoil. Not that the aquasoil being visible is a bad thing, it's just we're trying to hide it for the purposes of creating a little scene. Beautiful, I'll be right back with the extra supplies. So I ended up getting some more lava rocks. I'll just fill in these little voids and fill up the other pot. And then it's time to start the fun part, which is getting some plants in. Well, actually no, sorry, I lie. Though that is the fun part, the next part is actually damping everything off with the spray pack first, just so that the plants aren't having their root systems dried out. So that's one thing you don't want to do. So you've just done your fresh scape like that, everything's dry. Yes, it would be easy and fun to just plant the plants straight in as they are. The root systems will get dried out and you'll put plants under a lot of stress, because plants can get put into stress as well. So you don't want to do that. Wet everything down first, even fill it, say, that much with water. Even if you're doing a dry start, say you're going to do a dry start for this aquarium, filling that much with water so that your carpeting plants are semi-submerged is still a really good way to go. You'll get, actually probably, for if you say you're going to do glossostigma or you're going to do dwarf hairgrass, flooding the tank that much, say you wanted the tank to be a meadow and you wanted the entire thing just to be carpeting plants in there, flooding the tank just that little bit and then planting it out, you will still get the benefits of both worlds with your dry start or your wet start. So you will actually be able to get everything converting to be fully submerged, with the benefit of them being able to grow a little bit faster, because maybe the leaves are sticking out of the water a bit as well. So it puts the plants actually into preparation for being submerged, because it's just like them experiencing a huge rain event where they've become semi-submerged. So then when they become fully submerged, they don't go into a shock, they're able to actually just convert their leaves. So that's a little tip for you if you wanted to do a dry start with carpeting plants. You can actually have more water than just using a spray pack, and especially if you're not going to be home consistently, I should say, relying on someone else to be able to spray down your plants and keep the humidity up and etc is extremely difficult. So make it easy for yourself. You can do a bit of a wet start and a dry start in the same go. This is the bit of the tedious part, just trying to fill it up the most, because the aquasoil, obviously being expensive, even wholesale, I'll let you know now that aquasoil still isn't very cheap. So if you ever wonder why it's so expensive in a pet store, it's expensive for everyone involved, I think. Having said that, different brands are better than others depending on what you want to do. So I think it's called Amazonica. That brand is fantastic if you're trying to set up a Caridina shrimp tank. This is just the Oliver Knot shrimp soil. It should still be absolutely fine for Neo-Caridina and Caridina shrimp, but I know for a fact that the Amazonica is better. If in doubt, ask the shrimp breeders which aquasoil they use, and then that will be the one to go with. That should actually be pretty good. Time to tear open this one. If I can do this without spilling everything will be a miracle. Oh, come on, please don't need more than 2 litres. Here we are. Oops. Yeah, so we know now that a strawberry pot of this size is going to be 2 litres of aquasoil. And if you're having a whole strawberry pot, because say you had a large tank or a tank that you could walk the entire perimeter around and it's more of a hexagon or square shape, then just a whole strawberry pot like that planted out with sand or pebbles like this around it, you can make a really great aquascape, and then you can do it for dirt cheap because you know you only need 2 and a bit bags of this, so at most $60 of aquasoil, then $3.50 worth of sand, and then maybe another $15 of that, so $100 you've got all your soils done. Then add your $20 for your pot, $130, and then you can use stem plants if you're patient and just get 1 or 2 if you just want a single type of plant, or even Vallisneria. Plant it out, just keep doing your own cuttings, and then, you know, under $200 you could aquascape your tank. Now, unfortunately, I had to put my camera on charge while I was filling up the tank, so I'm just going to go over everything that I've done since then. So this is the completed scape. Something that I did think about whilst coming up with the scape was the fact that this is going to be against an exposed brick background. So having the terracotta pots in here, and then the exposed brick behind it, actually makes it look like a really nice little cottage garden setting, which is great. The original reason why I actually came up with this scape idea in the first place was I buy in these urns from the wholesalers and sell on my website, but I have always seen these Anubias on urns in pet stores and stuff like that, and in my head I've always thought they looked ugly as hell in just a normal aquarium, because I much prefer a natural look to an aquarium scape. So I thought, how would I use the two of these in conjunction in an aquascape? And I thought about it, and I thought, well, people always use these little pots in their breeding bare bottom tanks with plants. So if I got a couple of them, cut them in half, and then something bigger, instead of having them, I thought, you know, the herb pots and the strawberry pots, I went and I found some at a garden nursery that were $20 a pot, so I bought two. I cut this one in half, so there's only one in here, and in total there's 8 pots, accounting the cut in half ones as separate ones. So there's 3 there, and then there's 5 here. So that's actually following a technique from bonsai. So if you've ever done bonsai and they say, or Japanese gardening or Chinese feng shui gardening, they often say to group things in odd numbers because aesthetically it's a lot more pleasing to the eye. So I've gone for a total of 8 things in there, because 8 being a Chinese lucky number. So there's 3 here and then 5 here for the total of 8. So having the 2 groups of odd numbers and having them set off center has made this come together really well. But the plants that are in here, so again, Echinodorus Graspaci, I don't know how to pronounce it, to be honest, but that's a carpeting sword. Echinodorus tenalis, which is again another carpeting sword. This one gets a lot finer leaves and is almost akin to looking like dwarf hairgrass, but I think is probably a bit easier for most people to grow. There's Japanese or Japan Blixa there. That one there is Vallisneria contortionis. The one at the back there is Cryptocorn balensi. This one is just your standard Bulbitis, or the large growing Bulbitis, I should say. A Cryptocorn here. I'm not sure exactly which variety that is. This one's Lobelia, and then Anubias barteri, I believe, or it could be a Nana hybrid, I'm not sure, on an urn. Then this is a Echinodorus ocelot, so an ocelot sword. These ones are Alternantheria renickii red mini. Again, another Anubias on an urn. This one is a Pongigeton, Pongigeton crispus, I think. Again, another crypt. This one here, it looks like thin valve, but that's only because it's technically a young plant. This one is actually giant valve, so that'll get a lot thicker later. And I put it there for a very specific reason. I haven't actually put the filter in here yet, but I am going to put just your stock standard ugly power head filter here. And I want this plant to eventually hide it. So that's why I planted that one there, and instead of having a canister filter to make the scape look nice and blah blah blah, I'm just going with what most people would have in their aquarium, so I'm just putting in a stick-on side power head filter. So this plant here is Ludwigia glandulosa, I think it's pronounced. So it's a semi-red Ludwigia plant, and then this one is Echinodorus Baleri or Baleri, which is an Amazon sword that grows relatively large. So I didn't choose the best specimens again, because obviously the best plants I have, I want to be for sale for people rather than just going into my display tank. So I'm choosing plants that need a little bit more TLC to get to look nice. There's heaps of bubbles coming out of here, and I accidentally just saw this lobelia come out. But the reason why I chose these plants is they need some TLC. They don't look amazing, but I want to show you that if you just give them a little bit of what they want, which is take them out of, you know, a bad environment. So these ones are all in my sail tanks. They were overcrowded. They just need a little bit of space, some light, a little bit of aquasoil. I didn't go crazy with the aquasoil because it's expensive. I didn't want to cause an ammonia spike. Oh no, I'm going to have a nightmare getting these ones in, aren't I? No, they should stay there now. Yeah, okay, I got them. So yeah, so I'm thinking more long term for this scape than just instant gratification, even though to me this still looks absolutely amazing. To some of you it could look like garbage, but you know, it is what it is. I know in probably 8 weeks time, so in 8 weeks time when I do another video on this scape, all the plants will have grown in and it will look 10 times better. I will eventually add CO2 to this tank, but I'm not going to rush out and do that because I want to do a video on growing the red plants like these in a setup without CO2, just because I know there's a lot of people that want red plants without having to go through the extra step of having CO2. So I'll do that for these ones before I get the CO2 and make everything grow like crazy. But honestly, I thought I was going to get a lot more plants in here than what I did. So I was thinking, oh yeah, I'll get some different species of rotala in here, some bacopa, some more hydrophilas and all that. But I'd say this stuff, once it's grown in, that'll be capacity for the plants. So I don't know, my spatial reasoning must have been well off for that. I do have the fish in mind that I want to put in here. I have to wait till tomorrow to put them in because this water is icy cold, having just come from the hose outside. So unfortunately I can't fill this tank with fish tonight. This scape would be perfect for apistogrammas. So obviously having a cave down here, another cave here, a cave there, and a cave there, and then technically a hollow at the back here. That would be perfect for having apistogrammas breeding in like a display tank, and then having some schooling ditherfish or tetras or whatever, and then having some shrimp in here would be absolutely amazing. I may eventually do that, but at the moment I need to put one of my strains of guppies in here, so you'll see that in a moment which guppies I put in here. I will wait for this tank to age for 6 weeks before I add any shrimp in here, but I am going to add some red cherry shrimp in here because at the moment I don't really have any shrimp inside. I have all them outside, but before the storm I used to have a heap of shrimp inside. Then after the Christmas Day storm we lost power for a week. I actually lost all my shrimp that were inside, so it's time for me to start bringing some more inside, and I want to have them in a nice display tank. This is really the only display tank I have, and I'm really glad that I did this scape. And let me know in the comments what you think. When I initially did it, I was unsure about having that one there, and then adding these two crypts in here. I was thinking, oh, that's going to be too much and it's going to ruin the look. I actually really like all of these in here. This one probably needs to be moved over just a little bit more so it's in the center there. But the idea of that was just to block the view all the way into that half pot. So eventually it will look like a hobbit hole because the Vallisneria will send out the runners here and it will fill up. But yeah, now it's just the waiting game. So once I get the fish in here, it's going to be a lot more active and look a lot nicer. As you can see, because of the way I filled up these pots with the lava rock and all the stuff to just take up the space so I didn't have to use heaps of aquasoil, there's lots of air bubbles that are still coming out. So if you were smarter than me, you get those either stockings or those aquasoil bags, fill them up, put them in there to take up the space, then just top up the last of the pots with the aquasoil. You could do this with inert substrate and root tabs, but the aquasoil is just going to make your life a lot easier because it's got everything the plant needs and it's a lot more stable. And if you're trying to buffer the pH of your aquarium, you know, that'll help a lot as well. But it's really dealer's choice. If you want to replicate this, you don't need to use aquasoil. You can use sand as your fill and then just cap off with some pea gravel or something for the plants to have easier root growth through, and just add in some root tabs. So if you get the Bunnings root tabs, which are really cheap and last 6 months, you just have one in this front pocket here, one in the front and the back pocket, then obviously one there, one there, one there. And if you're going to do, again, like faster growing plants, have one there and have one there. You'd plant it out and then you would wait a week or so and do a test, because I do know that those root tabs from Bunnings are really high in nitrogen, so that may cause a bit of an ammonia spike. So you just want to make sure that the plants are growing and taking up that nutrients before you add your fish in. But yeah, so I will see you guys shortly when I add the fish. So I hope you've enjoyed this video so far. I'm having loads of fun. So this is the filter that I've put in here. I will eventually hook it up to the CO2, like I said just before. I didn't touch on the light, however, so I've got a Chihiro's light on here. I have positioned it, so obviously Chihiro's light, this being quite a thin light, but obviously the power of the sun in it. I've positioned it in, not in the midway point, so the midway point would be over the seam of this. This is actually just a bit towards the back. And the reason why I've done that is there's no plants in the foreground here apart from the crypt, and that doesn't really need much light. So the main ones that are going to be needing the light are these two here, and then the lobelia as well. So the rest of them aren't that high light intensive. So the reason why I really like Chihiro's lights as well, they come with an adjustable switch. So I can actually turn down the spectrum. So this is going to be hair algae city if I leave the light on like this. I'm going to turn down the spectrum a bit, and I would say, so this is the lowest spectrum. I think the red plants are going to really struggle at that, so I'll turn it up. 1, 2, is probably about halfway. I think once the water clears up, that's going to be it. It could go brighter, so if I notice the red plants are struggling, I can turn the light frequency up, but for the rest of them, I think having it at this brightness is going to be perfect. So we'll find out together when I film more updates of this tank whether or not I need to increase the brightness of the tank. So I'll see you guys shortly when I'm adding the fish. So I just added the Moscow blue guppies into the tank. I did have the light on while I was adding them for filming, but now that I've added them, I've just turned the light off, and I'm just going to let them kind of explore the tank, even though like it's pretty open. I'm just going to let them get used to being in this tank before I turn the light on and feed them. So I'll give them about an hour to settle in. If it was a bit darker in here, probably would be easier, but because it's only these Moscows in here, they should be fine. And I'll just come and check on them in a little while, and I'll give them some live food to chase around the tank for some fun.